Hey up everyone! So now that the 2024 Oscars are behind us, it's time for me to give you one of those ridiculously early prediction videos as to what films I think we might see nominated at the 2025 Oscars, starting off with the big category, Best Picture. Some of you might be thinking, Luke, isn't it a bit silly and a bit early to try and predict, the Oscars this far out? And I will admit, yeah, it is a little silly, but you know what? For Oscar fanatics like myself, it's kind of Oscar season all year round, okay? It's never too early to start theorizing what we might see next year. Odds are some of my Best Picture predictions in this video are probably going to be way off, but think of this more as a discussion video. Really, we're just starting a conversation about the films that are coming out later this year, which I'm looking forward to seeing, and which of those films I feel like may be the players that we might see at the 2025 Oscars. Remember, this is all for fun. It is just speculation. This is all just based off my intuition, gut feeling, and past Oscars history to help inform and influence my opinions on who we might see nominated. Okay, I'm putting my Oscars knowledge to good use, and if you'd like to put your Oscars intuition to good use, there is now finally a way that you can bet on the Oscars, not just the Oscars ceremony like the winners, but all the stuff leading up to it with Kalshi. Kalshi, which was founded by two MIT engineers, is the first legal financial exchange in the US where you can bet on any event. It's basically like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, but instead of investing in stocks, you can invest in things that you actually care about and know about. The exchange has hundreds of thousands of users and has already seen $500 million of trading. And Kalshi has a ton of Oscars markets where you can actually make money by betting on your favorite movies and actors. You can trade on things like which films you think will be nominated for Best Picture in 2025, or how many Oscars you think Dune Part 2 will win, or which actresses you think will be nominated for Best Actress in 2025. This is how it works. Let's say you believe that Lady Gaga is going to win Best Actress for Joker Folie, Deux. It is currently priced at 55%. You can buy shares of Lady Gaga for 55% or 55 cents each. The price changes based on what the market thinks the odds of the event are. Let's say you feel really confident about Lady Gaga winning, so you buy 100 shares of Lady Gaga. That's 55 cents times 100, which equals $55. If Lady Gaga does win Best Actress, you win $100. If she doesn't win, you get $0. If the share price goes up to 80%, you can sell the 100 shares for $80, making a profit before the event ends. And say you feel like the tide is turning and you believe that Saoirse Ronan is going to win Best Actress now, you can pick Saoirse Ronan or whoever you want to win instead. Kalshi has many movie markets, including Rotten Tomato scores, as well as markets in music, economics, politics, and games, plus many more. You can sign up using the link that's on the screen now, and you can also find it in the video description, and the first 500 traders will get a free $20 credit to use on Kalshi. And please remember, if you are going to bet, then set yourself limitations and gamble responsibly. Anyway, let's get back to those Best Picture predictions. Now, at this stage in the year, all we really have to gauge is our instinct, press releases, the odd trailer, and past Oscars history to help influence our predictions. I'm gonna level with you guys. Apart from Dune Part 2, I don't believe I've seen any other Best Picture contenders for the 2025 Oscars yet. Sorry to all you thirsty challengers stans, but if there's one Luca Guadagnino movie getting into Best Picture at next year's Oscars, it's gonna be for Queer and not for the thirsty thruple tennis movie. Queer is based off a beloved best-selling book and sees a straight actor, Daniel Craig, going gay to play the lead role, okay? You do the maths, or for all you Yanks watching, do the math. So yeah, as much as I love challengers, sadly, you're not gonna see it in my top 10 for Best Picture next year. Currently, I do have Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 at my #1 spot for Best Picture. How confident am I that Dune Part 2 will get into Best Picture? Pretty confident. Yes, it is a sequel, and yes, it is science fiction. Normally these factors are a hindrance, but Dune is the rare blockbuster franchise with prestige, kind of like the Lord of the Rings franchise. Critics loved it. It's got great scores on Rotten Tomatoes from both critics and audiences. It made a lot more money than the first one did, even though the first one did come out on the back end of the pandemic. And now that we've got the mandatory 10 slots for Best Picture, we do normally see 1 or 2 big blockbusters in the lineup. Think Avatar: The Way of Water, or Top Gun: Maverick, or if you like, Dune Part 1. Also, Dune Part 2 is locked for a lot of the tech categories. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Dune Part 2 manages to match the tally that Dune Part 1 got with the Oscars, which was 10. For those of you that are wondering, no, I don't see any acting nominations for the cast. Never say never, but it's very unlikely. I've heard some people vouching for Austin Butler or Rebecca Ferguson to show up in the supporting categories. I agree they would probably be the most plausible if there were to be an acting nomination. I don't see Chalamet or Zendaya getting a nomination. But I still don't think that Butler, Ferguson, or even Javier Bardem had beefy enough parts for the Academy to get behind. But the big question we really should be asking ourselves is if Denis Villeneuve can get the director nomination. It was kind of a shock when he got snubbed for Dune Part 1, so he does have a bit of an overdue sympathetic narrative working in his favor. Many people thought he had earned that directorial nod for Part 1, but that snub, paired with the fact that Part 2 is an even more impressive display of directorial prowess, could help him get nominated for Part 2. In so many ways, Part 1 was the setup for Part 2. The set pieces were bigger, grander, okay? That sandworm ride, okay? That's one of those cinematic moments that you never forget watching for the first time. So yeah, I really do believe that Denis stands a sizable chance of getting nominated for Best Director, which means if he's getting nominated for Best Director, odds are Dune Part 2 will get nominated for Best Picture as well. I don't like using the term lock, especially this early, but I do feel super duper confident that Dune Part 2 will be in the Best Picture lineup. I'm not actually predicting it to win right now, but I do have it in at number 1 because it is the only film I've seen so far in 2024 that I think will be nominated for Best Picture. That's why it's in at number 1. I can't really predict a winner yet when I haven't actually seen anything that I think can win. And for me, I do think that Dune Part 2 is a Best Picture nominee. I just don't see it as a winner just yet. As for the other slots, well, I don't really feel like I've seen anything that feels like a dead cert for a Best Picture nomination. Although if I had it my way, Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding would be in our 10 for Best Picture, but we all know that's not gonna happen. Genre bias. At number 2, we've got a film that's been on a lot of people's lips. It's a lot of people's number 1 to win Best Picture next year, and it is Greg Quedar's Sing Sing, which debuted at TIFF last year. I've not seen the film, obviously, but I've spoken to people who have, like the Oscar Expert, Brother Bro, and Ryan Castleman, and they've all informed me that Sing Sing is Best Picture material. It's tender, it's heartfelt, it's got a powerful message, and it's also an A24 film. That helps. And it's bolstered up by amazing performances all around. Coleman Domingo, Sean Dino Johnson, Clarence Macklin, and Paul Racy. I'm hearing SAG Ensemble buzz. I'm hearing supporting actor buzz for Clarence Macklin, but I'm also hearing lead actor buzz for Coleman Domingo, who is hot off his previous Oscar nomination just this year gone for Rustin. Coleman Domingo is hot shit right now, and if his performance is as good as people are saying it is, and I have a strong suspicion it's going to be because Coleman Domingo always delivers, then I do believe potentially Coleman Domingo, touch wood, could actually be our future Best Actor winner next year, which I would love to see happen because we would have our first ever openly gay man to ever win in this category. But also, if a film is already getting Best Actor buzz, then I've got to take it seriously for Best Picture because there is a strong correlation between the Best Actor nominees' performances being in films that also are for Best Picture. Although, funnily enough, Coleman Domingo's nomination for Rustin was the only Best Actor nominee last year whose film wasn't also up for Best Picture. All 4 of the other Best Actor nominees' films were. My anticipation levels for Sing Sing are quite high. I'm hoping it's as good as people say it is, but I got a feeling I'm going to adore this film. But yeah, for now, until I've seen the film, I'm putting in at number 2. So for number 3, I am sticking with the whole Best Actor, Best Picture correlation argument, which is why at number 3, I've got Todd Phillips's Joker Folie à Deux. Based on Oscar's history, as well as the first trailer for this film, I feel pretty confident that Joker Folie à Deux will get a Best Picture nod. There are a few things working against it. For example, a comic book film and its subsequent sequel has never been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. We came pretty close with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but yeah, that didn't happen. I mean, it is incredibly rare for a superhero film to even get nominated for Best Picture, so it's even harder for a sequel to do so. The second problem that's worth addressing is that it is one of 3 franchise sequels/prequels to be released by Warner Brothers in the same year, where the previous films also had a very successful outing at the Oscars, okay? Joker 1 got 11 nominations and won 2. Then Mad Max Fury Road got 10 nominations and won 6, and also Dune got 10 nominations and won 6. And to me, it feels very unlikely that we're gonna have 3 I mean, even 2 feels like a stretch, but 3 huge, mega popular franchise blockbusters, all from the same studio, making it into the Best Picture lineup in the same year. Yeah, the odds of that don't feel very likely. But I don't know, I do feel like we could get 2 out of the 3. The one that I'm feeling a little shaky on right now is actually Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, because I feel very confident that Dune Part 2 is getting in, but comparatively, when you compare Joker and Furiosa, between those two, just like based off the trailers, Furiosa seems to be giving more of the same. I could be wrong, nobody's seen this movie yet. Whereas the trailer for Joker Folie does seem to be somewhat of a departure from the first film and is taking a bigger risk. Joker Folie is actually a musical, or at the very least has musical numbers and musical set pieces in it, which is a new direction in terms of genre and tone, especially from someone like Todd Phillips. And if it does work, then Academy voters may want to reward that risk. Also, this is the first time that Joaquin Phoenix has ever returned to play the same role. Okay, he's never done a sequel before. Granted, the first time that he played Arthur/the Joker, he did end up winning, Best Actor at the Oscars, but I'd argue that's all the more reason for him to not return to the role. Like, how is he ever supposed to top that? But if Phoenix signed on for this sequel, knowing just how picky he is when it comes to the roles that he takes on, there must be enough juicy substance in the script to make him want to do it. It implies that there's enough great dramatic stuff for him to sink his teeth into, which has enticed him to come back to play the role again. Whether Joaquin Phoenix can get another Best Actor nomination for the same role remains to be seen. There could be a collective mentality amongst voters thinking, well, we've already acknowledged Joaquin Phoenix for playing this part, okay, we've given him a win, okay, do we need to give him another nomination when we could choose to acknowledge someone else, perhaps someone who's never been nominated before? Kind of like last year when Leonardo DiCaprio didn't get nominated for Killers, instead we got nominations for Colman Domingo and Jeffrey Wright. That was lovely. And I know it's still really early, but Best Actor does look like it's shaping up to be a really stacked year this year, okay? We've got potential nominations for Colman Domingo, Daniel Craig, Ralph Fiennes. But who knows, if Joaquin Phoenix goes all in on this performance or shows us an unexpected side of the character, then yeah, by all means, he could easily be nominated for playing the same character twice. I mean, Cate Blanchett did it for Elizabeth, why not Joaquin Phoenix? I feel at the very least, he will at least be in the conversation for Best Actor, but I think he does have a good shot of being in our Best Actor 5. This movie is going to make money, and from a technical standpoint, it does look like all the departments in this film have leveled up. Cinematography, editing, music, costumes, hair and makeup. Todd Phillips has brought back most of the department heads who all got Oscar nominations for their work. He's once again co-written the screenplay with Scott Silver, Lawrence Sher for cinematography, Jeff Groth for editing, and also Hilda Guanadir is back to do the score, and she won the Oscar for the previous score. Plus, you throw in the fact that you've got Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn, who you just know is going to be in full-blown Best Actress Oscar campaign mode. By the way, did you notice she studies Stanislavski? Yeah, she is gonna go hard with this role. And I don't blame her, okay? This is a role that perfectly taps into her theatrical, weirdo, little monster persona and sensibilities. Okay, she can thrive in a transformational role like this where she also gets to sing, dance, be covered in makeup, and wear kooky Harley Quinn outfits. It is a great role for her. It ticks so many boxes. So yeah, I've got a pretty strong feeling that Joker Folie will be in our Best Picture lineup, so that's why I've got it in at number 3. All right, so next up at number 4 is a bit of a gamble because the film hasn't actually been picked up by a distributor yet. This is just a feeling I'm having about this film. Also, in keeping with the whole Best Actor, Best Picture correlation, I do have to take this seriously as a potential Best Picture contender, and it is Ali Abbasi's The Apprentice. This film is getting its start at this year's Cannes Film Festival in a few weeks' time, and I will be covering the Cannes Film Festival this year. I will be there, so if you want all of my reactions, early reviews, and Oscar predictions for films like Furiosa, The Apprentice, as well as others, be sure to click that subscribe button and follow me on my socials. My end of year goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so if you can help me out by clicking the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. With The Apprentice, given that this is an election year in America and this is a biopic about Donald Trump, in the early days when he was a hotshot mogul, you know, before he became the president of the United States. I do feel like, given the political climate, this film is going to be very topical, very timely, and heavily discussed once people see it. The director, Ali Abbasi, has a proven track record with Border, Holy Spider, and also a few episodes of The Last of Us. And the script was written by Gabriel Sherman, a journalist turned screenwriter now. Given that particular pairing of writer and director, and the clout that they bring to a project like this, I do think that The Apprentice is going to be more than just a by-the-numbers biopic. I do think it's going to have a lot to say about Donald Trump. And given that the Academy is very liberal, there is a chance that they may champion a film like this, but then again, they may not. Look at the film She Said, which was all about, you know, the investigation into Harvey Weinstein. That got completely goose-egged at the Oscars. So there's no guarantee, you know, a Donald Trump movie is going to be celebrated by the Academy. It could go either way, but we do also have some notable talent playing notable characters in this. We've got Sebastian Stan in the lead role as Donald Trump. We've got Succession's Jeremy Strong playing Roy Cohn, and we've also got Oscar-nominated actress Maria Bakalova playing Ivana Trump. But all eyes are really going to be on Sebastian Stan. He's already proven that he's got the chops to embody a real-life person. We've already seen that with the TV series Pam and Tommy. The thing is, with Donald Trump, he's one of those public figures, kind of like Elvis Presley, who's very easy to do an impersonation of, but he's also all too easy to turn into a caricature. Austin Butler managed to pull it off and got an Oscar nomination, but can Sebastian Stan do the same by playing Donald Trump? I'm feeling yes, and that's mostly because of who's written and directed this film, okay? I don't think this is going to be a fluffy, conventional biopic. I do think that Sebastian Stan will probably be able to bring a lot of dimension and depth to the part, but right now it all remains to be seen. But if it is a solid performance, then yes, we could very well be looking at a Best Actor nominated performance for Sebastian Stan. And also, if the supporting turns in this are good from Strong and Bakalova, then that might actually be enough to make this film well-rounded enough to be a Best Picture nominee as well. It does tick a lot of boxes because it is technically a biopic, it's star-driven, and it will be a timely and socially resonant film, particularly in America. I'm not like 100% certain this is going to be a Best Picture nominee, but when you look at all the ingredients that it's got, it does feel like it's got potential. All right, so next up at number 5, I've gone with Steve McQueen's Blitz. We don't even have a trailer for this film yet, but on paper, this film definitely has the goods. Right out of the gate, as soon as you hear Steve McQueen is writing and directing something, okay, you immediately think, okay, this project has quality. Steve McQueen has become synonymous with the word quality, okay? 12 Years a Slave, Hunger, Shame, Small Axe, Widows, criminally underrated Widows, by the way. Also, the title, Blitz, immediately lets the audience know that this is a film centered around World War II. And as we've seen with the Academy, if your film is centered around a world war, then it's like catnip to them, okay? Hacksaw Ridge, 1917, Dunkirk, Darkest Hour, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Zone of Interest. And as far as talent goes, you've got Saoirse Ronan in the presumed lead part, and she is a 4-time Oscar nominee. Okay, we know the Academy likes her. So yeah, right away, Steve McQueen plus World War II plus Saoirse Ronan equals Oscar bait. Also, when you go behind the scenes of this film, there's even more notable talent working on it. Okay, you've got Wes Anderson's go-to guy, Adam Stockhausen, for the production design, so you know the sets are going to be good. And then we've also got Barbie costume designer Jacqueline Duran doing the costumes, so yeah, this film is going to look great. So yeah, Blitz has a cast and crew of reputable talent, and the subject matter is also very baity. This one's being distributed by Apple, so my guess is that this will be their big ticket item this year that they're going to pour all their resources into. Let's just hope it can net more wins for them than Kills the Flower Moon did last year, which sadly took home the bagel. At number 6, I've gone with the Sundance dramedy hit A Real Pain, which is directed by Jesse Eisenberg, no less. I've not actually seen this film yet, but it's gotten universal praise since its debut at the Sundance Film Festival. People are really praising this film for its performances from Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg, who play cousins Benji and David, who go on a road trip to honor their grandmother who has passed away. Again, I've not seen this film, but I'm very eager to see it. I've got a feeling that this is going to be the little indie darling movie this year that everybody sees and falls in love with. Kind of like this year's Past Lives. That movie had passion behind it, and already I've seen there is a lot of visible passion for this film on like social media, like Twitter. This is also a Searchlight Pictures film, and Searchlight have a terrific track record of getting 1, sometimes 2 films into the Best Picture lineup, and they have won a few times as well. So think Poor Things, Banshees of Inisherin, Nightmare Alley, Nomadland, The Shape of Water, Birdman. There's also a bit of buzz for Kieran Culkin's performance in this film, and wouldn't it be funny if both Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong, two Succession alumni, on-screen brothers, managed to get their first Oscar nominations together in the same year, in the same category? Yeah, part of me would really love to see that. It wouldn't be the first time that they've gone head-to-head for an accolade, but it would be the first time that it wasn't for Succession. But that can happen sometimes when you get an actor who's best known for doing TV work, who's on a hugely successful show, and then either leaves the show or the show ends, and they carry that post-TV show success into a film career and get an Oscar nomination from it. Like, you got George Clooney after he left ER, you've got Bryan Cranston after Breaking Bad wrapped up and he got his first nomination for Trumbo, and it could happen potentially for Kieran Culkin and Jeremy Strong now that Succession is over, or heck, maybe it could happen to both of them, who knows? But it is worth noting that Searchlight do have two other projects coming out this year. You've got Kinds of Kindness by Yorgos Lanthimos, which is also going to Cannes, and we've also got Nightbitch from Marielle Heller, and both of those projects also have the potential to maybe be Best Picture contenders. I'm holding off for now on putting either of those in my predictions. I actually feel out of the three Searchlight projects that A Real Pain feels like the safest prediction, which might be a little shocking to some of you considering that Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things just won 4 Oscars, 7 weeks ago? I am happy to be proven wrong. I will be watching Kinds of Kindness at the Cannes Film Festival in a few weeks, so I'll let you know then if I think it's an Oscar contender. But the reason I'm not as confident on Kinds of Kindness being as much of an Oscars darling as, say, Poor Things was, is because Kinds of Kindness is written by Yorgos Lanthimos and Euphemus Philippou, and they're the team that wrote Dogtooth, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and The Lobster, and all of those movies didn't get a nomination for Best Picture, okay? The Lobster did get a screenplay nomination, which I do appreciate, but yes, the Academy tends to like it when Yorgos is adapting a script by Tony McNamara. His screenplays, however unorthodox they may be, seem to have a universal accessibility that the audience really connects with. There is absolutely no denying that Yorgos Lanthimos is a weird filmmaker, but with the screenplays that he's written with Euphemus Philippou, The Lobster, Dogtooth, and Killing of a Sacred Deer, those movies are very weird and have plenty of social commentary, but they almost seem a bit too alternative for the masses and the Academy to fully embrace. Also, something that I've recently learned is that Kinds of Kindness is actually an anthology series, as in it has 3 separate stories within the film. They all tie together apparently, but typically with the Academy, they don't tend to go for films that, have anthology stories in them, at least not for Best Picture anyway. But the film does have a stacked cast, including recent Best Actress Oscar winner Emma Stone, who won, for a Yorgos film, Poor Things. She's back collaborating with Yorgos, as well as Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, Hong Chow, Joe Alwyn. So yeah, it's a very strong cast, and also people working behind the scenes are frequent Lanthimos collaborators. You've got Robbie Ryan doing the cinematography again, and you've got Justin Fendricks, who did the score for Poor Things. When they've worked with Lanthimos, they've received Oscar nominations, so there's a strong argument to say that they could very well do it again. But yeah, I am seeing Kinds of Kindness in a few weeks' time. Maybe I'm wrong on it, maybe it will be a Best Picture contender, but for now, I'm keeping it on the outside looking in. And as for the other Searchlight project, Nightbitch, which does sound very interesting, and it's directed by Marielle Heller, who did A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood with Tom Hanks. After I read the synopsis for this film, I was like, will the Academy go for it? I'm not sure, because it's based off a novel by Rachel Yoder. Apparently it's about a woman, played by Amy Adams, who pauses her career in order to become a stay-at-home mom and look after her newborn baby. And her domesticity takes a surreal turn because at night she starts turning into a dog, I believe. Yeah, so that's where the title comes from, Nightbitch. And while I do think that is a formidable pairing of writer-director Marielle Heller and Amy Adams in the lead role, the plot does give me a little bit of pause for thought, making me wonder, is it going to be a bit too weird for the Academy? And like I said, the Academy certainly have been embracing the weird lately with films like Poor Things and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, it can absolutely be done. And it does sound like this film will have a lot of emotional resonance, particularly for women, because the film is about, the challenges and difficulties of being a mother and also having a career. Part of me still wonders though, is it still going to be a little too out there for the Academy? And this is like classic genre bias right now, which is holding me back from putting it in my 10. I fully admit that I am experiencing genre bias here, but who knows, maybe this film will be an absolute smash. It's certainly got the talent behind it, we just need to see if it sticks the landing. Alright, so next up at number 7, I've gone with Ramel Moss's Nickel Boys, which is based on the Pulitzer-winning prize by Colson Whitehead. Nickel Boys chronicles the powerful friendship of two African-American men navigating the harrowing trials of reform school together in Florida. There is a lot of early buzz for this film given the source material. It feels like the type of social issue movie which will make a lot of noise once people see it. A university investigation into the school found numerous unmarked graves and unaccounted for deaths, as well as decades worth of emotional and physical abuse of the students. The film also has some incredible talent on board, including Ingenue Ellis-Taylor, Daveed Diggs, Hamish Linklater, and Ethan Heresy. It doesn't sound like this film is going to be an easy watch, but it does have the potential to be a necessary watch. So for that reason, I'm putting it in my 10 for Best Picture. At number 8, I do think there is a case of recency bias occurring here because I've gone with Edward Berger's Conclave. If the name sounds familiar, it's because Edward Berger directed the very successful remake of All Quiet on the Western Front. After the tremendous success of that film, including winning Best Film at BAFTA, a lot of people are excited to see what Edward Berger has up his sleeve, what his follow-up's going to be like, and there is a chance that his next film might not live up to the heights of All Quiet on the Western Front, but there is enough star power in Conclave to make me think, ooh, this could have potential too. You've got a cast that includes Ray Fiennes, John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, and Isabella Rossellini. Based on the book by Robert Harris, the film is set behind closed doors in the Sistine Chapel, where 118 cardinals from all across the globe have come together to decide in secret who the next pope is going to be. And Cardinal Lawrence, who's played by Ray Fiennes, finds himself at the center of a conspiracy that could shatter the entire foundation of the church. After hearing that, it's kind of giving me Spotlight vibes, like the sins of the clergyman coming to the surface. But this is based on a fictional book, whereas Spotlight was based on real events. But also, it is kind of giving me a 12 Angry Men vibe to it as well, because you've got men deciding and discussing things behind closed doors. And if it is done well, then there is a chance it could show up in the Best Picture category, especially with the star power that's attached to it. If the performances are solid, the writing's good, maybe the Academy will go for it. Again, I'm not super duper confident on this one, but for now, I'm gonna put it in my 10. At number 9, I've gone with Pedro Almodovar's new film, The Room Next Door, and I think what this is gay boy bias, just loving the idea of a collaboration between Pedro, Julianne Moore, and Tilda Swinton. This is actually Pedro Almodovar's first fully English-speaking feature film. Like, he has done a couple shorts in English. Most recently was A Strange Way of Life. But Pedro is already beloved by the Academy, and the fact that this film is in English will certainly make it more accessible to those that wouldn't necessarily watch his work. It follows the story of a flawed mother and her daughter separated by a massive misunderstanding. And at the heart of the conflict is Ingrid, played by Julianne Moore, who is a friend of Martha's, played by Tilda Swinton, and is witness to the pain and bitterness of each person. The film explores the endless cruelty of war, as well as death, friendship, and also sexual pleasure. What's giving me pause, though, is the fact that Pedro Almodovar has never been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. So yeah, it's a bit of a long shot, this prediction, but who knows? Maybe the combination of the A-list star power, as well as Almodovar's reputation and track record, and the fact that the movie's in English, and the fact that, you know, the Academy is very international now. Maybe all of that is enough to maybe get Almodovar the first Best Picture nomination that he's overdue for. Who knows? But yeah, also it is ridiculously early in the Oscars race, so right now I can afford, to make a hopeful prediction and take a risk here or there. And in the final spot, at number 10, which is always the hardest spot to fill because right now there's like 20, 30 films like competing for this one last Best Picture slot. I could have gone with so many different movies for this slot, but I've settled for now on Malcolm Washington's The Piano Lesson. Malcolm Washington co-wrote the screenplay with Virgil Williams, and this is an adaptation of the play by August Wilson. So yeah, I think Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. My reasoning for why I've got The Piano Lesson in my 10 is, well, there's a few reasons, but I guess the main reason is that it is a Netflix film, and normally Netflix do have at least one film in the Best Picture lineup. Last year it was Maestro, and given the star power that's attached to The Piano Lesson, I feel like they'll probably pool a lot of their time, energy, and resources into this film in order to get it some Oscar nominations. The film follows the Charles family, who are trying to decide what to do with their most valuable family heirloom, which is an old piano, which has some carvings from a former enslaved ancestor. The film's cast cast is stacked. You've got John David Washington, Samuel Jackson, Ray Fisher, Michael Potts, Daniel Deadwyler, and Corey Hawkins as well. So yeah, the film's got star power, and apparently there is a phenomenal performance from Samuel L. Jackson in this because he previously played the same role on Broadway when it was a play and got rave reviews for that. So yeah, there's a bit of buzz surrounding Samuel L. Jackson potentially winning Best Supporting Actor for this role, which would be something that a lot of people would love to see happen because he was robbed of a nomination for Django Unchained. My concern for this film though is that because it is an August Wilson adapted stage play, then it runs the risk of it, feeling like a play, and sometimes these August Wilson play adaptations don't, translate into a Best Picture nomination. I mean, it can be done because Fences got the Best Picture nomination, but Ma Rainey's Black Bottom actually didn't get the nomination, and that was during a sliding scale year for Best Picture. Like, it could have made it in, but they decided not to fill all 10 slots, and that had, 2 nominated performances from it, Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis, and it still couldn't get into Best Picture, which was very bizarre. So yeah, that's why I don't feel like The Piano Lesson is a guarantee to get into Best Picture. I certainly think it's got enough to potentially take off, but I can also see it being one of those films that gets maybe one Oscar nomination for performance, kind of like Coleman Domingo in Rustin or Leslie Odom Jr. in One Night in Miami. Perhaps Samuel L. Jackson might be the sole nomination for it, we shall see. So yeah, those are my 10 predicted films for the Best Picture lineup for 2025. As of May 2024, okay, still got a long way to go, and yeah, like I said, I'm not expecting this to be a 10 out of 10 match. I mean, for one thing, I haven't selected a single film here that is, directed by a woman, and that's a little bit shameful. Like I said before though, if I had it my way, I would have Rose Glass in here for Love Lies Bleeding. I absolutely adore that movie. But who knows, it is still very early days, and hopefully some female directed movies will make it into the Best Picture lineup. Maybe we'll see something like Andrea Arnold's Bird, or Audrey Dewan's Emmanuel, or Marielle Heller's Nightbitch, or Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, or Ariane Lebed's September Says, or Nora Fingscheid's The Outrun, or Tina Mabry's The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat, or India Donaldson's Good One. Perhaps one of those, or several of them, could surprise and get into Best Picture. Who knows yet? I'm hoping so, because it was awesome that we had 3 films directed by women get into Best Picture last year. Hopefully there's several women this year as well. As for other films that are on my radar and I'm keeping an eye out for, we've got Sean Baker's Anora, Kelsey Mann's Inside Out 2, Pablo Larraín's Maria, Chris Sanders' The Wild Robot, Mike Leigh's Hard Truth, John Crowley's We Live in Time, Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2, because the previous Gladiator film is a Best Picture winning film at the Oscars, but with Ridley Scott's recent track record, I'm not all too confident it's going to happen. Luca Guadagnino's Queer, Clint Eastwood's Juror Number 2, which is supposedly his final ever film, so maybe the Academy were feeling sentimental and want to honor his last film. Joshua Oppenheimer's The End, Robert Zemeckis' Here, David Lowery's Mother Mary, George Miller's Furiosa, A Mad Max Saga, Sean Wang's Dee Dee, Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, and it's a long shot, but Robert Eggers' Nosferatu remake, which has a 25th of December release date, which is like prime time for a late surge Oscars campaign. But you guys know as well as I do that the Academy don't very often nominate horror films, especially for Best Picture. But we shall see. Like I said before, guys, I'm not really expecting to be 10 out of 10 correct here with these predictions. I mean, just for example, this time last year, I hadn't even heard of American Fiction. It wasn't on my radar. Okay, there's always surprises. Films come out of the woodwork that you've got no idea about. My guess is there probably is 1 or 2 future 2025 Best Picture Oscar nominees that I haven't even mentioned in this video yet, and that's because it's still stupidly early or the films don't have big names attached to them. But do let me know in the comment section below, were there any films that I missed, and what are your current 10 predictions for the Best Picture category next year? Remember, if you want to stay up to date with all my early Cannes Film Festival coverage, all my reviews from there, as well as some early Oscar prediction videos for other categories like Best Actor, Best Actress, supporting categories, the screenplays, director, what have you, then do click subscribe. Help me get to my end of year goal of 10,000 subscribers. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Hearfield, and I'll see you next time.